To Iranian fighter jets, afterburners lit, climbing hard. Direct intercept course with a U.S. Air Force patrol. They had no idea what was already watching them. From a position they could not detect, could not track, could not escape. Iran just made the biggest mistake of their Air Force, and it ends in the next 90 seconds. Persian Gulf, 061 for hours local time. The sun is 30 minutes above the horizon. Visibility unlimited, no clouds below 30,000 feet. Perfect air combat weather, which is exactly what makes what happens next so decisive. You cannot hide in clear air, not from what is already up there. The U.S. Air Force had been running combat air patrols over the Persian Gulf for 11 consecutive days. Two F-2 Raptors, calcine Reaper flight. Reaper 1 and Reaper 2, operating at 35,000 feet. Speed 0.9 Mach, fuel comfortable, weapons hot. The Inoue PG-77 radar on each F-2 painting everything within 150 miles in passive mode. No emissions detectable from the ground. No emissions detectable by any aircraft in the area. The F-2 sees everything. Nothing sees the F-2. That asymmetry is not an accident. It is the entire point. At 0609 hours, the E-3 Sentry AWACS orbiting at 29,000 feet 50 miles to the west detects to contacts lifting off from Shiraz Air Base in southern Iran. Iranian Air Force, two F-14 Tomcats. Calcine unknown, climbing fast, afterburners lit from brake release. Heading directly toward the Gulf Patrol Box where Reaper Flight is operating. The AWACS controller makes the call immediately. Reaper Flight, AWACS, to Bandits Airborne Shiraz, bearing 047, climbing through Angels 15, heading to 120, probable intercept your position, time 8 minutes. Reaper 1 acknowledges, already turning. Already repositioning, not away from the threat. Into a position of advantage before the F-14's no Reaper flight has moved at all. Let us talk about what Iran sent into that sky. The F-14 Tomcat is not a joke. Iran received 79 of them from the United States before the 1979 revolution. Today approximately 40 remain airworthy, each one carrying the AWG-9 radar. Range 185 miles against large targets. And the AIM-5 for Phoenix missile. Range 190 kilometers, Mach 5 speed. The longest range air-to-air missile ever deployed operationally by any Air Force in history. On paper, the F-14 with Phoenix missiles is a serious threat. The longest reach of any fighter in the region. The ability to engage targets before they can respond, on paper. The paper does not account for what is already in the sky above them. The F-14 pilots are climbing through 20 to 1,000 feet. Radar active, AWG-9 scanning ahead. Searching for the American patrol, they are not finding it, because Reaper flight is not where it was 8 minutes ago. Reaper 1 has moved 15 miles north. Altitude 40 to 1,000 feet. Speed increased to 1.2 Mach in full supercruise. No afterburner, no thermal signature increase. Just acceleration, quiet, invisible. The F-1 for radar cannot find what it cannot detect. And it cannot detect the F-2. The F-22's radar cross-section is approximately 0.001 square meters, the size of a marble. At that cross-section, the AWG-9 radar on the F-14 has an effective detection range of less than 2 miles. 2 miles. The F-2 carries AIM-120 AMRAAM missiles with a range of 180 kilometers. The math here is not complicated. Reaper 1 is now positioned 40 miles behind and above the F-1 for formation. The F-14s do not know this. They are still searching ahead, still climbing, still looking for the American patrol they were sent to intercept. The AWACS controller is watching all of it. For contacts on the display, 2 F-14s in front, 2 F-22s behind them. The F-14 crews only know about 2 of those for contacts. Reaper 1 keys the radio. AWACS, Reaper 1, I have a tally to Bandits, Angels to 2, bearing to 127, range 40 miles, request rules of engagement clarification. AWACS responds immediately. Reaper 1, Bandits are declared hostile. You are authorized defensive engagement if threatened. Hold fire unless fired upon, or lock established. Acknowledge. Reaper 1 acknowledges. Watching. Waiting. The F-14s are still climbing. Still searching. At 06:01 hours, the lead F-1 for pilot makes a decision that changes everything. His radar has been scanning for 12 minutes. No contact on the American patrol. He knows they are out here somewhere. He makes the call to go active with full-power radar emissions. Maximum power, maximum search range, trying to find the Americans before they find him. The Envoy LR-9 for Electronic Warfare System on Reaper 1 detects the AWG-9 radar emission in 0.3 seconds. Classifies it in 0.8 seconds, hostile radar. F-14 AWG-9, bearing to 127, range 39 miles. The F-1 for pilot does not know his radar just announced his exact position to something he cannot see. Something that is now 39 miles behind him. Something that just received targeting quality data from his own emissions. Reaper 1 does not transmit. Does not activate its own radar. Does not need to. It already has everything it needs. The lead F-14 radar sweeps forward again. Nothing. He pushes the throttles to military power. Climbing through 28,000 feet now. Heading deeper into the Gulf patrol box. At 06 to 3 hours, the lead F-14 establishes radar lock on what his AWG-9 identifies as a large slow contact at 31,000 feet. It is not a fighter. It is the E-3 AWACS. The controller on the AWACS sees the lock warning immediately. Reaper flight, AWACS. Bandit 1 has established radar lock on this platform. Weapons free. Repeat, weapons free. Reaper 1 is already moving. The AIM-120D leaves the weapons bay at 06 to 3 hours and 14 seconds. Active radar seeker, Mach 4, range 35 miles to target. Impact time, 47 seconds. The F-14 radar warning receiver screams. Active radar missile seeker, bearing unknown. The F-1 for pilot brakes hard left, chaff dispensing, flares dispensing. He does not know where the missile came from. He does not know what aircraft fired it. He cannot see it. He cannot track it. He can only run. The AIM-120D has an active seeker. It does not need the F-22 to guide it. Once it leaves the rail, it finds its own solution. The F-14 pulls 8 Gs in the brake turn. The AIM-120D pulls 20. At 06 to 4 hours and 01 second, the missile finds the F-14, not a direct hit. The proximity fuse detonates at 4 meters. The fragmentation warhead sends 3,000 tungsten fragments through the F-14's left engine and tail section at hypervelocity. The left engine seizes immediately. The hydraulic lines to the left stabilizer are severed. The F-14 is still flying, but it is no longer fighting. The wingman brakes immediately. Hard right. Full afterburner, descending, heading for Iranian territorial airspace at maximum speed. Reaper 2 is already there, positioned on the wingman's escape route. 30 miles ahead, waiting. The wingman's radar warning receiver has been screaming since the first missile launch. He is dispensing everything: chaff, flares, jamming pods active. He is also transmitting on guard frequency 121.5 MHz, calling for help. Calling for anyone. Reaper to keys the radio on guard. Iranian aircraft heading 090. This is US Air Force. You are in a defensive engagement situation. Reverse course and return to Iranian airspace immediately, or we will engage. 3 seconds of silence. The wingman reverses course. Full afterburner, climbing back toward Iran. Reaper to watches him go, does not follow past the 12-mile line. At 0631 hours, the damaged lead F-14 crosses back into Iranian airspace. Still flying, left engine out, hydraulics degraded. The pilot declares emergency on Iranian military frequencies. Emergency recovery at Shiraz Air Base. He makes it. The aircraft will not fly again for 6 months. The wingman lands at Shiraz 11 minutes later, undamaged, shaken. The engagement lasted 9 minutes from AWACS detection to Iranian aircraft crossing back into their own airspace to Iranian F-14s launched. 0 American aircraft threatened, 0 American casualties. The F-22s never activated their own radar, not once. They used the F-14's own radar emissions to find them. Used the AWACS data for targeting, used passive sensors throughout the entire engagement. The F-14 pilots never knew exactly where the F-22s were. Never got a radar lock on either American aircraft. Never had a firing solution. They flew into a trap they could not see. Set by aircraft they could not detect, and engaged by a missile they never saw coming. Now let us talk about what actually happened in that sky from a technical perspective. Because the engagement looks simple from the outside. 2 Iranian jets launched, 1 got hit, 1 ran. But what actually happened in those 9 minutes reveals something much more significant about the state of air combat in 2025. The F-22 Raptor was designed in the 1980s to fight the Soviet Union's best fighters, Su-27s, MiG-29s, aircraft that were genuinely capable of threatening American fighters in a fair fight. The solution was simple in concept: make a fighter that never fights fair. Make it invisible. Make it fast without afterburner. Give it sensors that see everything without being seen. Give it missiles that can engage from ranges where the enemy cannot respond. The result was an aircraft so dominant in its generation that it has never lost an engagement. Not in training, not in exercises, not in the one real engagement we just described. Never. The Inouye PG-77 radar on the F-22 operates in a mode called low probability of intercept. It spreads its emissions across a wide frequency range, hops frequencies thousands of times per second, reduces its peak power output. The result is a radar that can see you clearly while appearing to your radar warning receiver as background noise. Background noise you ignore because it looks like atmospheric interference, not like a fire control radar painting you for a missile shot. The F-14's AWG-9 was designed in 1970. It was state-of-the-art in 1974. It has no counter to LPI radar modes. It has no ability to detect frequency hopping emissions below a certain power threshold. It was flying blind against technology 50 years more advanced. That is not a fair fight. That is not supposed to be a fair fight. The AIM-120D AMRAAM that destroyed the lead F-14S engine is the most capable beyond visual range air-to-air missile currently in operational service with any air force. Range 180 kilometers. Active radar seeker in terminal phase. Data link updates from the launching aircraft or AWACS throughout the mid-course phase. Maneuvering capability of 30 gigaseconds in terminal phase. Against an F-14 pulling 8 Gs in a break turn, the geometry is not survivable. The missile is simply faster, more maneuverable, and more capable than any evasive maneuver the F-14 can execute. Iran knows this. They knew this before they launched those two jets. Which raises a question that the analysts in Washington and Tel Aviv are still discussing. Why did Iran send F-14s against F-22s? There are two possible answers. Answer 1. Iran genuinely believed their new combined radar tactics could locate and target the F-22s before the F-22s could engage. The tactic of using maximum power AWG-9 emissions to force the F-22s to react and reveal their position has been discussed in Iranian military journals for years. The theory is that even a stealthy aircraft has to maneuver in response to a threat. And maneuvering generates infrared signature. And infrared signature can be tracked. The theory is not wrong. The execution failed because the F-22s did not maneuver in response to the AWG-9 emissions. They used those emissions as targeting data and fired from a position the F-14s never located. Answer 2. Iran never intended to win the engagement. They intended to collect data. The electronic intelligence aircraft that was orbiting 40 miles inside Iranian airspace during the entire engagement collected every emission from every American platform involved. AWACS radar frequencies, F-20 to data link emissions, AIM-120D seeker frequencies, response timing, engagement geometry, all of it. Going into Iranian electronic warfare databases, being analyzed right now, being used to develop countermeasures, being used to plan the next engagement. If answer 2 is correct, then Iran paid one damaged F-14 for a complete electronic intelligence collection on a real F-22 engagement. That is not a bad trade from their perspective. It is a terrible trade from ours. The U.S. Air Force response to this engagement was not public. It is never public. But what we know from capability announcements in the months following tells its own story. The AIM-260 Joint Advanced Tactical Missile entered accelerated development. A replacement for the AIM-120 with significantly greater range and improved countermeasure capability. Designed specifically to defeat the next generation of electronic warfare systems, the ones Iran is building right now with the data they collected that morning. The next missile defeats the countermeasure Iran is developing against the last missile. Before Iran finishes developing it, that is how this competition actually works. Not battles, technology cycles, each one faster than the last. Each one more expensive than the last. Each one more lethal than the last. Two F-14s launched from Shiraz at 06:09 hours. One landed with its left engine destroyed. One landed shaken, but intact. 0 American aircraft threatened. 0 American casualties. The F-22s returned to their patrol box at 06:38 hours. Resumed their patrol at the same altitude, the same speed, the same bearing, as if nothing had happened. Because from their perspective, nothing significant had. They were there when Iran arrived. They were there when Iran left. They will be there tomorrow and the day after. And every day Iran wants to try again. That is what air superiority actually looks like. Not a dramatic dogfight, Not a close call. Just two gray jets at 35,000 feet, seeing everything. Being seen by nothing, waiting, always waiting. Stay locked in.